"Hey, sir, the veterans section is over there," said a young security guard, trying to sound polite but failing. The old man in the worn gray jacket stopped mid-step. The crowd around the National War Memorial flowed like a river. Crisp uniforms, medals glinting in the sunlight, polished shoes clicking on the marble. But he didn't fit in. His jacket was old, faded at the cuffs. His shoes scuffed. His medals, if you could call them that, were a mix of mismatched ribbons pinned to his chest, one barely hanging on by a bent clasp. A group of young soldiers nearby chuckled quietly. "Looks like someone raided the surplus store," one whispered. "Maybe he's lost," said another. "These fake vets show up every year." The old man heard it. He said nothing, just kept walking toward the memorial steps, carrying a single white rose in his hand. The guard moved in front of him again. "Sir, this area is restricted. Only verified veterans and families of fallen officers can approach the central flame." He looked up, eyes calm, voice gentle. "I'm just here to pay my respects." "I understand, but..." Before the guard could finish, a colonel nearby cut in. "It's fine, officer." "Let him through," he said, clearly irritated. "Just make sure he doesn't interrupt the ceremony." The old man nodded softly. Wouldn't dream of it, but the whispers didn't stop. Everywhere he walked, eyes followed, some amused, some annoyed. To most of them, he was just another confused old man clinging to a story no one believed. The field was filled with rows of soldiers, veterans, and dignitaries. Flags fluttered under the bright morning sun. A military band played low, solemn notes that hung heavy in the crisp air. At the front, a stage had been set for the National Day of Valor ceremony. Rows of decorated generals stood tall, their uniforms flawless. The president's motorcade was already parked behind the stands, black SUVs gleaming. The Secret Service scanned the crowd with practiced precision. The announcer's voice echoed through the speakers. "Today, we honor those who went beyond the call of duty, those whose courage protected the soul of our nation." As the list of names began, the crowd bowed their heads. The old man, still standing quietly off to the side, placed the white rose on the base of the memorial flame. His hands lingered there, trembling slightly as if touching a memory. Nearby, a young officer sneered under his breath. "Fake medals, fake stories, and now fake tears." Another chuckled. "Maybe he thinks he's getting an award too." A woman standing next to them, a nurse in uniform, frowned. "Show some respect," she whispered. But the young men laughed it off. The old man turned slowly, his eyes tired but sharp. He didn't speak and just gave a faint, knowing smile. Then he stepped back and folded his hands behind his back, watching the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen," said the master of ceremonies, "our next honoree served in operations long kept classified. For decades, his bravery went unrecognized, until recently declassified documents revealed his role in one of the most daring rescues in military history." The crowd straightened. Whispers rippled through the ranks. A file folder was handed to the president. He glanced at the first page, his expression shifting. First confusion, then surprise, then quiet awe. "This citation," he said, voice steady, "is for extraordinary heroism under fire during a covert rescue mission that saved 39 American soldiers deep behind enemy lines." The recipient was presumed killed in action, until last year's investigation confirmed his survival. Gasps moved through the crowd. The president continued. "For his service, courage, and sacrifice, the United States awards the Medal of Honor to..." He paused, reading the final line. "Staff Sergeant Samuel J. Brooks," the crowd murmured. Then silence fell, because from the back row, the old man's hand trembled as he lifted the brim of his cap. The president looked up, scanning the crowd. "Staff Sergeant Brooks. Is he present today?" Every head turned. The young officer who had mocked him earlier froze. His jaw went slack. "Wait, him?" The old man took a slow, steady breath. Then, cane in hand, he began walking toward the stage. The sea of uniforms parted instinctively. Those who had mocked him only moments ago now stood stiff, their laughter replaced by stunned silence. A Secret Service agent moved forward. The president raised a hand to stop him. "Let him through." The old man climbed the steps one at a time, each step echoing with the weight of years. When he reached the stage, the president himself stepped forward. Their eyes met. One man who led the country, the other who had once saved it. "Sir," the president said quietly, "it's an honor." Sam smiled faintly. "No, Mr. President. The honor's theirs?" The band began to play softly as the medal was placed around his neck. Tears welled in the eyes of the soldiers who moments before had mocked him. Some bowed their heads. Others simply stared, frozen between shame and awe. As the applause faded, the president turned to the audience. "This man," he said, "operated in a time when his name couldn't be spoken and his deeds couldn't be recorded. He carried out a mission that changed the course of a war and never once asked for recognition." Sam's hands trembled slightly as he held the medal. "Didn't do it for recognition, sir. Did it for them." He gestured toward the wall of names behind him, the memorial of the fallen. The president nodded, visibly moved. "America owes you a debt that cannot be repaid." From the front row, a 4-star general suddenly stood and saluted sharply. Then another, and another. Within seconds, every soldier, every officer, every cadet on the field was standing at attention, saluting the old man they had once dismissed. The silence was complete, except for the faint sound of the flags whipping in the wind. The ceremony ended quietly. Crowds began to disperse, still whispering about what they'd witnessed. The old man stood alone by the memorial flame once more, looking down at the single white rose he had laid there earlier. The young officer who had mocked him earlier approached hesitantly. "Sir, I'm sorry." "I didn't know." The old man smiled faintly, without bitterness. "You don't need to know, son. Just remember why you serve." The officer nodded, voice breaking. "Yes, sir." Sam gave him a gentle pat on the shoulder and turned to leave. The sun was setting now, casting a golden glow across the marble steps. A breeze stirred the flags, and the faint reflection of the eternal flame flickered across his medal. He paused for a moment, looked back one last time and whispered softly, "For them. Always for them." Then he disappeared into the crowd, just another old man again, but this time, no one dared to laugh.